Welcome to Sewover50's daily podcast on Sew Organised Style. Yes, it's Thursday, so let's give another warm welcome to Judith Staley as she gives us her reflection on what she thought Sewover50 would be and what it is now. Let's listen in. So Judith, what did you want to let our listeners know about today?
I was thinking about what the community is like now, the atmosphere of the community, and what I'm thinking back to when I started it and what I thought it would be like. And
Okay.
it's funny to think back to that time when, that weekend when it all came together and Sewcialists put that call out for anybody want to start a new niche community. And I thought what my intention was, it would give the over 50s a place to share their makes with no rules about age-appropriate styles. That's what my initial thought was. That was what I was thinking it would be. It's done that, but it's also developed into such a caring, sharing, connecting community. And that's wonderful that that's what came from it.
So at the time when you started, you mentioned styles being age-appropriate.
One of the things I'd been thinking of was the rules that people, spoken or unspoken, say about what you can wear at various ages and what you can wear when you're older. And I really felt, rebelled against that idea that you should be able to wear whatever you want to wear, regardless of what other people think that somebody of your age should be wearing. So one of the early posts, in fact, it was on the 23rd of August, so I think that was perhaps about 5 days after we started, I did a post called Break the Rules because that was in the front of my thoughts when I started it. So I did a post about breaking the rules. If you look back at that and see people's comments, everybody was really on board with it from the beginning. And I mentioned that I'd been to a wedding and I'd broken 2 rules, which was showing bare arms. This might be just in Britain. Showing your arms and also not wearing tights to a wedding. I had quite a longish dress on, but I had bare legs. And apparently that's not really, it's not really dressy enough for a wedding here, but I survived. Nobody threw me out of the wedding. And
well, that's good.
Yeah. And the other thing somebody mentioned was that old saying, don't be mutton dressed as lamb.
Oh, yes.
And as somebody said, well, would you rather be mutton dressed as mutton or mutton dressed as lamb? There shouldn't be rules.
That's a really good response. Would you rather be mutton dressed as mutton? I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I know. Well, why not be mutton dressed as lamb? It's fun. And it's funny because I was looking back at that post and I know Sandy had commented, this was 5 days, Sandy had commented about it. I've forgotten what she said. Anyway, agreed. And I responded and she said, we're a force to be reckoned with. And little did we know that the two of us would be a force to be reckoned with. Yes, and I think I know what I said. That I'm not a wacky dresser at all. I'm quite understated. I like muted colours, but I want to wear what I want to wear. It doesn't mean breaking the rules, doesn't mean you've got to wear really wacky clothes or anything. It's just wearing what you're comfortable wearing, whether everybody else your age is wearing it or not. That was how the account started, and I think that sort of set the scene at the beginning, that sort of almost rebelling against the rules. But then it grew into a lot more than that.
It has grown. It's global. It really is. And you've got how many followers now?
19.2, I think, 19.2 thousand.
Yep, and it's growing by about 1,000 a month.
Yes, yeah. It is. So the next big one obviously is 20,000, so that could be towards the end of the year. There seems to be, I've noticed a lot of people joining at the moment over the past few weeks, so maybe it's that people have a bit more time on their hands doing Instagram and are finding us. I mean, I don't keep a really close eye on the figures, but I do notice sometimes there's a big blip of a lot more people joining, and that seems to be happening just now.
Yeah.
There doesn't, obviously, 19,000, they're not all posting. I think there's maybe about 1,000 really active people on the account, and a lot of people just sort of watch it.
What Susan Young said at the meetup, that people are observing Sewover50 even though they're not following Sewover50.
No, I think they're following, but I think it's people who are following, but they're not actually posting.
Okay.
So that's what Susan said. That's what we found at the get-together, that we think that if they're not posting, they're not really paying a lot of attention. They're just, with just swiping through, but actually it showed that people are paying attention even though they're not feeling confident or don't want to post, and that they would make the effort to, they'd seen the event happening, they got the ticket and they came along.
Yeah, they did.
That was really enlightening to discover that, we think that the ones who aren't contributing aren't really paying attention, but they actually are. And some of them, after a while, decide, they pick up the courage, or their circumstances change or whatever. They decide that they are going to join in after watching for quite a while.
So this month, it's going to be interesting to watch the people who put hashtags Sewover50 on their Me Made May 2020.
That's something else I've noticed, actually, that a lot of the new people who are posting that, because when I look at the hashtag, I can, it shows whether you follow them or not. Because mostly we, as individuals on Instagram, we look at our feed, don't we? We look at the people we follow. That's what we're doing. Everybody who appears on our screen, we're following. But at Sewover50, we don't really look at that because there's too many there. We look at people using the hashtag. So we just always look at the hashtag. So that can be people who follow us or who we follow, but it can be people who we don't follow. But if I see that there's somebody posting with the hashtag who we don't follow, then I start to follow them. I see, it's lit up in blue. So I start to follow them because I think if they've bothered to use a hashtag, then we should be following them and we should give them that. I've noticed new people using the Me Made May hashtag who are also using Sewover50, but we weren't following, now are.
That's lovely.
And I was saying about the way the account started and how it's developed into the supportive community that it is, that people feel safe to talk about difficult things they're going through, and that's not to do with sewing, and they get a lot of support there, and a lot of people have made connections, and a lot of people with physical health issues or mental health issues who find it a safe place to share, because everybody is so supportive. Honestly, we've never had to deal with anybody being critical or being unkind. There's just never been any of that, which is lovely to see.
And it makes people feel that it's a really safe account and a safe environment to follow and take part in, doesn't it?
Yes, because I think a lot of people who had just come to Instagram, who just come to social media, haven't been involved in it before. You hear, oh, be careful, you don't know who you're talking to, and warn your children to be careful. And so it's great that it has developed in that way, and that people who join don't have to worry about that, or they hopefully discover they don't need to worry about that.
So Judith, before we go, do you have any last minute messages for people who are thinking about following Sewover50?
Yeah, just jump in, and I'm sure you'll love it. Jump in, follow, see what we're putting up on our posts, have a look at the hashtag Sewover50 and what other people are posting and seeing, and just follow for a while. And then if you have any questions about how to get started, we get people asking, how do I post on your account? Well, it's just using the hashtag and we will see you. But we have people direct messaging us with these sort of questions, and we encourage them to just use the hashtag and get involved. When new people get involved, we like to try and highlight. We can't highlight everybody. There's so many. Yeah. We like to highlight the people who are new and starting, and get them some exposure and get them to start making some connections with people, because that's when it really gets going. When you comment on somebody's post and they reply, and then you get a little bit of chat going. And if people comment on your post, if you reply, it's when you get those connections that you begin to feel really involved and get more enjoyment out of the account and out of your sewing, because you've got all those supporters out there.
So hashtag Sewover50 is how people can start.
That's right, and it's SEW Sewover50, as I'm sure you'll point out, not SO in that case. A bit complicated. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Judith.
Thank you very much for inviting me and for doing this feature on Sewover50 once a week. It's been great. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, always.
Thanks again, Judith, for joining us on the daily podcast here at Sew Organised Style. We really appreciate the fact that you gave up your time and have made Sewover50, the account with Susan Young and Sandy Back, such an amazing place to share sewing and everything else that happens in life. Talk to you again, listeners. Thanks for being here. Bye for now.